Hello, I'm Matt Gillard, and thanks for tuning in to another edition of Capital Corner, your weekly news and views on updates around early childhood issues right here from your state capital in Lansing. Well, there's been a slow couple of weeks here in Lansing, especially on early childhood issues. The legislature has been in session, but there really hasn't been a lot of activity or a lot happening, like I said, especially around early childhood issues. The one news of the week this week related specifically to early childhood was a presentation by former Florida Governor Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush, the governor of Florida, is well known in the education community for enacting some pretty substantial education reforms to the educational system in Florida while he was governor there. He presented to a joint panel of the House and Senate Education Policy Committees and had a wide-ranging discussion about all types of different education reforms, but a lot of it really substantively focused on early learning, and that if we really want to get our education system right, we need to focus on getting kids reading by grade 3 and reading at grade level as they enter 4th grade. And he certainly reiterated what we all know in the early childhood community, that it's critical that we have a quality early childhood programming as an essential part of that. I think that's an effective message for us to build on moving forward as we continue to ask the legislature and the governor to continue their investment and even further their investment into quality early childhood programming. Former Governor Bush made it very clear that our education system in America will not be successful and will not be competitive in the world unless we make a strong commitment to quality early childhood programming and giving kids the opportunities that they need so they can be successful when they enter school and in those first few years of school. There has been some activity around some other issues, some somewhat related to early childhood. One of the big issues on the agenda, or issue areas on the agenda for this month, is education reform. The governor has asked the legislature to push a pretty significant education reform agenda through this month. It looks like some of that work will get done, including probably some changes to the teacher tenure laws and some other things, but I don't think all of it will get done, and there doesn't seem to be a lot specifically related to early childhood in that agenda to this point. The governor did make somewhat of an announcement this week that he does expect or hope to issue the executive order that was talked about in his education address that will create the Office of Great Start soon. We're looking for that to happen certainly within the next month, and there's some ongoing discussions about what the practical matters of that executive order will need to be in order for that to be released. There is some other issues being talked about that you've probably heard about as well. The one that's kind of dominating the discussion right now is the bridge. There's a huge controversy, has been for years here in Lansing, on whether or not there's a need, and if there is a need, who should be building a second bridge between Detroit and Windsor. The governor has called for what's called now the NITC bridge to be built, the government's backed bridge between U.S. and Canada. The Maroon family, who owns the Ambassador Bridge, would like to double span their bridge. That's an ongoing fight here. The governor wanted that done by the end of June. That certainly does not look like it's going to happen, and we'll look for that fight to continue in the fall when the legislature comes back. Also of note, it's kind of going under the radar, but we're expecting that the legislature will push forward their new redistricting plans that are done based on the new census that just came out, so that the next election coming up here in 2012 will reflect these new legislative districts. Those plans they're expected to be released here in the next few days, both the Senate and House plans, and I would expect them to be even voted on perhaps as early as next week. And there'll be some significant changes to some areas on which legislative districts they fall in. So expect to hear more on that in upcoming editions. Right, for now, that's all we have. So thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again in a future edition of Capital Corner.